Miscellaneous minds, never explaining the minds. Devilish grin for my alias, aliens who respond. Peddling sin, thinking maybe when you get old you realize I'm not gonna fold or demise. I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Miscellaneous Minds Podcast. I'm your co-host, Boomer Gato, the cat that hands your NDA back. And to my left over here is the main man, the nerd, the man that makes the fat stacks. Together we form the dynamic duo that won't die. Then the idea is we're to spice your content to here's OnlyFans.
What is going on, everybody? Before getting to tonight's topic, please make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and with that, let's get right into it. So, there comes a point where something that is, we'll call it art, imitates life, or maybe life imitates art, in reverse, however you want to put it. As a child, I used to love watching, at the time it was WWF, eventually became WWE. I used to love it. I was into the drama of it. I loved seeing dudes beat the shit out of other dudes. I loved seeing, at that time, puppies. All that shit. I loved all that shit. And as I grew up, much like a lot of other people, eventually started growing out of it. You know, not so much because you find that it's fake, but, you know, you just eventually grow out of it. Not everybody does. Some people enjoy just the drama of the show. But me, personally, I eventually grew out of it. Now, you may be asking yourself, why is this man going down memory lane, bringing up this old shit that no one gives a fuck about? Well, something happened very recently that the world does care about. Vince McMahon and TKO, WWE, and a few people within the WWE that are lower on the totem pole than Vince have been sued by a woman alleging some pretty foul shit. And I'm going to use that in a very manner of speaking because it does involve shit. Not going to talk about it too much on here because, you know, YouTube rules and blah, 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 blah. Trying to grow. Anyways, so this woman is alleging that she was essentially S-trafficked, that she was S-assaulted, that she was forced to do things that she would not otherwise do. You know, in preparation for this video, I actually watched the commentary of a couple other people. One of the people that I watched, True Jordy, shout out True Jordy. And I don't want to say he changed my perspective, but he did bring, you know, out a little bit to what I wanted to talk about. So, okay, Vince has now been sued, and again, a couple WWE individuals, as well as TKO, have been sued by this woman, Jamel Grant, who is basically stating that she was abused through the entirety of her time at WWE. I believe it started in 2019. Vince hired her because I guess she lived in a building that Vince owned. She was having a hard time making money. Vince apparently had a few meetings with her at a private condo where Vince revealed himself and what he wanted. She said, hey, that's perfectly okay. Sign me up. I'm here. Pay me. So eventually a relationship began. You know, Vince started doing some things, escalating. So the part where I said life imitates art, when I was younger and I used to watch WWE, Vince portrayed himself as this boss, his persona, so to speak, as I run things. I will make women do whatever I want them to. I will talk to whoever I want, however I want them to. I am the powerful, you know, all behind, you know, the man behind the curtain. I run everything, that type of thing. And it seems like Vince took that persona right out of his life because he was making women do some pretty strange things. Apparently, he was using S toys, giving them wrestler names. Who knows what he was naming them? The Rock? Brock Lesnar? Bobby Lashley?
Jesus Christ.
Who knows? But he was naming them all these different wrestler names, using them on this woman in ways that apparently, according to her and according to the lawsuit, physically hurt her. It was alleged through this woman that another individual, John Laurinaitis, partook in this assault with Vince at one of the shows, I guess in one of Vince's offices or something like that. I guess Vince was very much into her going with Laurinaitis, doing their thing, and getting, hey, this is what went down via text. I guess Vince is a cuck? Is that what we want to call it? That's what we'll go with for now. Number of other things.
I mean, there was like a couple scenes where it was Eric Bischoff, an actual competitive rival at the time, that he did pitch, like, yeah, why don't you just kiss my wife and kiss my daughter while you're at it. There actually is like scenes of like that, like early 2000 WWE. That shit was wild, bro. Anyways, go on.
I would not be surprised. Anyways, a number of different things. Apparently, also Vince liked to, at least at one incident, one rendezvous, pretended that he was Brock Lesnar. Apparently, he, in her words, was very rough, very Brock Lesnar-esque. Maybe he F5'd the bitch. I don't know. Listen, let's be honest here. Let's keep it 100. Let's take Vince out of the situation just for 1 second. These individuals that get revealed, such as the Vince McMahons, the Dana Whites, the Elon Musks, all these grandiose individuals that run their companies like it's their own little tyrannical little country, when they get revealed what they're saying behind the scenes, it's usually not good. It's usually kind of ugly. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Elon Musk did anything close to what Vince is being alleged to have done, or Dana White, but if you look at all the messages, the texts that are being revealed of Dana White, and all the shit that he was talking about his own people, his own UFC fighters, it's not great. Let's put them aside because they're not involved in this story, at least not directly. Not by any means saying they're involved in this in any way, shape, or form. Let's put that right out the pop. And again, this is all alleged. None of this is proven, at least not right now. Anyways, so listen, I'm not surprised at this who Vince is. There's been plenty of stories about, Vince got sued, I believe it was in Florida one time. There was a massage therapist who said Vince tried to do some stuff. Listen, let's be honest. When you get accused of it one time, okay, 2 times, okay, 3, okay. Like, it becomes a certain point where after so many accusations, at a certain point, you're going to be like, okay, look, let's keep it up. He probably did that shit. And we all know that Vince has this weird history of, like, almost drooling over wrestlers and their physiques. He wanted all these dudes to be these big old buff dudes, and it's kind of weird. So the fact that he wanted to cosplay as Lesnar doesn't surprise me at all. Anyways, listen, I just think it's one thing that True Jordy said, and this is part I honestly completely agree with, because listen, I was ready to come on here and condemn the crap out of Vince. I'm like, look, he did all this stuff. It kind of seems like Vince did this stuff. Like he's a piece of shit. So I was fully ready to come on here and say, hey, condemn the man. However, one thing that True Jordy said is true. So this Ms. Grant, when she went into this contract with Vince to essentially be an S-slave, she was 44, man. She was a grown woman. It wasn't like she was, in her 20s and she was kind of stupid and didn't know. She was a grown woman. She was a grown. She probably has a daughter. Probably daughter has children. Like, she could be full grandmother. So it wasn't like she was a young woman. So here's the thing. She alleges that she was belittled, assaulted, all this kind of good stuff over the course of, what is it now, 4 or 5 years. And like, the problem that I have with it is she continued to return over and over. Whenever Vince asked her to do stuff via text, she did it. Whenever Vince asked her to go meet with Laurinaitis, she did it. Whenever Vince asked her to text with Lesnar, I'm putting that in quotes because I personally don't think Lesnar was involved, but it doesn't matter. She did it. She was willing until, and here's the ending, I guess, of the relationship. Vince at one point said, hey, look, I'm going to give you an NDA. I'll pay you $1 million to never speak of this and what's going on. She said, nope, not signing that. Give me $3 million. Vince said, okay, I'll give you $1 million up front and I'll give you $500,000 a piece until the $3 million is eventually paid. Eventually she got the $1 million, but that's all she ever got. And that's when she's like, I'm suing. So that's the problem that I have with it. It doesn't seem like it was I've had enough. I'm being belittled. I'm being, treated terribly. But it seemed like when the money ran out, then the lawsuit came. And what is a lawsuit? To get money. So again, I was fully ready to come on here and just berate Vince and who he is as a person, to talk shit about the man, because I'm no fan of the man. The way that he's treated his wrestlers over the years, and the way that he's just gone out of his way to make sure that he treats everyone around him like shit. So I was fully ready to come on here. But that's a true point. This was a grown woman who made decisions that I personally would have made. Again, I have been in financial straits at different junctures in my life that I never made decisions like that. Especially because apparently Vince took a doo-doo on her. But anyways, listen, this woman continued to go back to Vince over and over and over again to get more and more money. And then when she knew the money was going to dry up, she said, okay, if the money's drying up now, I want a big payout. She didn't get it, and now she's suing. So I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's no good people in this scenario. I think they're both kind of pieces of shit. I think Vince is definitely the bigger piece of shit. But again, I feel like to a certain degree, we got to put a little bit of the blame on her, man. She made this, especially when she was degraded. She chose to go back. And listen, I don't care what you're into. I don't know if Vince did this because he's an old man and he just couldn't hold it in. I don't know if he did this because he was really looking to fucking do this to this woman. I don't know. I'm not here to kink shame the fucking old fuck. All I'm saying is like she chose to go back even after that incident over and over again until the money dried up. And that's the problem that I have with it. I'm going to put 90% fault on Vince, 10% fault on her because she continued to go back again and again and again. And it was only when the money dried up that she decided to sue. What do you think about that, my man?
So my entire thing is, look, the fact that he needed to bring up an NDA, because he could have just let this die. The fact that he tried to introduce it made me think, okay, this is some shit. And again, this is entirely speculation with the NDA situation. However, given Vince's character, and I don't mean his like character, I mean like who he is as a person. Especially when you go all the way back, his idea of sexuality has been like phenomenally warped. There was a Playboy interview from like I think like 98 or 88, I can't remember. Anyways, where he talked about his first sexual experience, and it was buck wild. This man was in first grade. And he was talking about going to the movies with his stepbrother and some chicks that he was hanging out with. And they talked about, for lack of a better word, handle them. And he thought at the time it was cool. This man was like 7. And this happened. That's not cool, my man. You're a victim. But then you look at all the stuff that he's pitched over the years. All the stuff that he's tried to get Stephanie involved in. Shane involved in. He legit pitched an incest angle between those two in the WWE until he realized, no, let's just get Eric Bischoff to do it. That makes it a little less weird. And keep in mind, little is a very operative word here. It's still weird all around. And there's been more and more stories from other people, not naming this Janelle Grant person, but from people like Shane, from people like some other wrestlers. Ryan Nemeth, I believe his name is. He's Dolph Ziggler's brother. Of stuff that Vince isn't directly involved with, but people around him were abiding. Meaning, so not only was this lawsuit involving Vince and TKO as a whole, but there were a lot of reporters. They just recently had the Royal Rumble yesterday as of this recording. Anyways, they had a presser in which they asked Triple H directly, so how much does this, given the allegation and given that he's out of the company as of right now, how does the situation look? And to be honest, Triple H didn't really give the greatest absolute answer. He pretty much made it as corporate as possible. And basically like, look, we're investigating as we can. But hey, let's look at the positives. Royal Rumble did phenomenally well. We got a great fan reception. Blah, 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 blah. And my thing is, the fact that he's trying to focus on the positives of a sexual allegation does not spell good vibes at all. He's basically trying to like, yeah, that's happening, but let's focus. How about the Rumble? How'd you feel about the Rumble, my man? Wasn't it fun? Wasn't it fun to watch? That was a pretty good watch, right? There has been another allegation against Triple H himself, because there was this Ryan Nemeth person years and years ago was alleging, and it didn't go anywhere, but combined with this, now it's starting to look pretty bad. So he was alleging that. So the story was that Ryan Nemeth was basically pseudo locker room leader at the time that he was in WWE. And keep in mind, this was like in 2012-ish. And some of the ladies in the locker room, meaning some of the other personnel, or hell, even some of the other personnel, saying that they were uncomfortable with certain acts. They didn't disclose at the time, but he did say there were some things that were going on in WWE that made them uncomfortable, and they needed somebody to speak up on their behalf. Ryan Nemeth was that person. And Ryan Nemeth did speak up about that, to which Triple H came down and had said, delete that immediately. Again, this is what Ryan Nemeth is alleging, so I have to say there's a bunch of speculation on that. What the pressers at the Royal Rumble were basically alleging was that it's not just a Vince problem. It's not just a John Laurinaitis problem. It is a company-wide sickness that multiple people are complicit in. When you start to wonder why Shane McMahon, somebody that was like born and bred in the wrestling business, right? He wasn't just like a figurehead. He wasn't just somebody that just appeared on TV occasionally. No, he was in the show itself. Anybody back then can argue, and hell, even when he came back in 2010, people saw him as like a born leader. He wouldn't just tell somebody, go do that, unless he was comfortable himself doing that. And you go back and you see Shane McMahon was very much involved in the business itself. He was very much involved in this business. And you start to wonder, if he was so involved, then why'd he leave for like God knows how many years? There was another part about that story that, again, alleges, speculation, that the falling out between Shane and Vince was because Vince also wanted to get Shane involved in whatever he was involved with in the, basically the executive board, basically the backstage board dealings, whatever. And the reporter that was alleging it said that this also might have involved something similar to that Janelle Grant situation, and Shane didn't want any part of that. In fact, he even told in front of the boardroom executives, hey, that's not cool. I don't abide by that. To which Vince thought that as a bit of a betrayal. And again, given who Vince's character is and his absolute power dealings, that he was like, oh, okay, my word is absolute law in this company. The fact that he didn't want to give up his company to his children, to his son-in-law, and would rather do a business dealing to still have himself be in charge of the entire thing, makes you think, okay, yeah, that power hunger thing does play out. And the fact that he had a falling out with Shane over something, allegedly, I have to remind you, over something that Shane feels like, hey, what you're doing isn't cool. Let's not do this. And Vince told him, all right, fuck off then. That seems pretty much in his character. That's what I think about the entire thing. It seems in character, but again, I can't prove anything.
Listen, man, it's not about you being able to prove anything. There just seems to be a culture of Vince being a piece of shit overall. Again, at this point, everybody's speculating. We don't have any more proof than anybody else has. There's not one reporter on the planet that's going to have more information than we. Not because, they're special in any particular way. We're special in a particular way. Just these are all rumors that have come out over the years, over things that Vince has done. And listen, again, Vince grew up in an era where his family, particularly his father before him, and then eventually when he turned into the WWE, it was their way or the highway. Didn't matter what the hell was going on. Either you do what I say or you get the fuck out. And don't get me wrong, for a long time it worked for Vince. So I think it's one of those things where when you just tell someone yes, 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 constantly, no matter what it is, it becomes a thing of they don't see the bullshit that they're doing. All they have is yes men around them. So they just continuously keep upping the ante. It's a drug, man. It's one of those things where, you get a little high off a little bit, then you need a little more, and then you need a little more, and then you need a little. It just goes on and on. Vince is honestly, man, he's just, there's a number of individuals, and I listed off a few of them earlier, of these CEOs that just, they never get told no. So they just think they can keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And listen, it's one thing if in your personal life, listen, I honestly don't give a shit. If him and this woman had a agreement that she would essentially be doing acts for money, I think that's perfectly fine between two consenting adults. I'm not here to judge that. That is what it is. It's the number of things that Vince apparently does, and he says, hey, I'll pay you blank, and then he doesn't pay them blank. It's like this, man, be a man of your fucking word. If you want to have this type of power over someone, hey, listen, that's your fucking prerogative. I may not fucking agree with it, but if both those parties agree to it, who the fuck am I to judge? The problem is that these people just take it too fucking far because, again, they're never told no. This woman, Ms. Grant, you really think she told no? For years, she told Vince yes in every disgusting thing he wanted to do. So, again, of course, he's going to keep pushing the boundaries. It may sound silly with the naming of the toys and, all this dumb shit that Vince was having her do. It's comedic in a way because, it just sounds so out of this fucking world of shit that we as individuals may partake in. But people like Vince, people like Dana, people like Elon Musk, these people that just have an infinite amount of money that can just throw around their fucking weight and they just have all the resources in the world. Like those type of people just want to keep getting higher and higher and higher because listen, if you have all the money in the world and you can basically sleep with any woman on the planet, after you've done that about 500 times, you really think it still gives you the same pleasure? No, it doesn't. It's just like the addict. They get high a little bit, then they need more and more and more. And that's the problem with these types of individuals. We need to start holding them accountable because, listen, again, if this was just a consensual deal between two adults, I'd be like, look, listen, you know what you signed up for, it is what it is. But Vince just pushes it, and all these other people just continue to push it, and they're going to continue to push it until they get their comeuppance, and it looks like now Vince is getting his comeuppance. There's a certain amount of pleasure that I take in knowing that Vince's overall dreams to forever run the WWE are it's not going to happen. It's done. It's already been sold. He may be in a seat of power. He may be in a position where he still gets some say, but he's not the boss anymore. As much as he wants to be, he's really not. So I take a little bit of pleasure in that. And again, this is another concept where hopefully he gets a little bit of justice done to him, because I kind of feel like he's a piece of shit. Anything else you want to add to that, my man?
Nah, that's it for me.
And with that, make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and
Until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you on the next one.